Hey, Chicago class of 2013, welcome. This is Professor Joe Urbany with a brief introduction to the Marketing 1 course. We'll define marketing and then talk a little bit about course resources and where to get them. I want to start with a conventional or common cultural view of marketing. I love this far side, an old one from Gary Larson, the asparagus truck. Right? A new marketing innovation. I cuss, you cuss, we all cuss for asparagus. So this captures a common cultural view of marketing. The marketing is about duping people into buying something they don't need or want. So marketing is about schemes or ploys or ruses, right? To separate folks from their money. In contrast, graduate schools of business for over 50 years now have taken a much broader view. And we do so because it's far more effective in preparing people to build profitable outcomes for their organization. So consider this definition. Bringing goods and services to market profitably with this qualifier by creating value that others do not. So creating values, meaning a customer-focused orientation around resolving needs and solving problems that others do not, which is a competitive strategy orientation. This perspective is reflected in the case of Progressive Insurance. It's a $15.5 billion company these days with about an 8% share of a very competitive market. And this is Peter Lewis, founder of Progressive Insurance Corporation. Peter was joined the company in the 50s. His father started the company, the earliest version of the company, in the 1930s. Peter was CEO from 1965 to 2000, is now chairman of the board. He's really responsible for taking this firm from a small regional player to a top 4 position in the industry. What's really interesting is Mr. Lewis's perspective on the purpose of the business. Right? They're not an insurance company. He believes always that they've been in the business of reducing human trauma and the costs of automobile accidents. Right? So this deeply held belief is the driver of innovation and strategy that's come out of Progressive and has led the organization. And we'll use Progressive to illustrate the broader view of marketing, and we'll capture it in what I call MBM, the Marketing Management Business Model. So this is the model that we'll use and build throughout the semester. In our model, there are really 3 core pillars. Right? First, customer segments. Having a deep understanding of customer needs is critical, and the fact that there are different segments of the market that have different sets of values. Mr. Lewis had initial insight in the 50s to the notion that we ought to pursue high-risk drivers, and it turns out they found a significantly underserved segment there and a very profitable segment. But more recently, Mr. Lewis felt that the industry had been underserved, and there's a much broader segment that valued resolution of claims, time, valued responsiveness, valued openness, and that this segment was completely underserved, that service in the industry was abysmal, which led Mr. Lewis to his what we'll call value proposition, which is pillar 2. It's value proposition strategy about how your offering provides unique value in the competitive marketplace. And Peter Lewis decided that his company would focus on openness and transparency, service that was incredible and far above the rest of the industry. Now, in terms of specific programs, 2 interesting, very concrete programs that came out of this was the notion that we'll provide for price comparisons. And today you can go to the website and get competitive prices as well as side by side with Progressive Insurance prices. They've been doing that since the 80s. And an immediate response program, which was a program to provide 24/7 service, providing as fast response to accidents as possible, as well as quick claims resolution as possible. Now, these are great ideas in concept, very interesting ideas. In fact, people thought Mr. Lewis was crazy. What it required, though, was building the 3rd pillar, and that is the resources, capabilities, and partnerships in a unique way to deliver that value. So the point here is, do we have the goods to deliver? They had to build original technology in the form of computer technology, databases, call center technology, top flight talent, recruiting and training and retention of folks. They purchased and invested in a lot of new assets like these cars you see driving around town, and they really developed a very strong measurement culture here. Interestingly, the work that they had done and the package they put together now created a capability for agents in the field to show up at the scene of an accident. Potentially didn't happen in all cases, but and actually evaluate, assess claims, and write a check on the spot. This is an illustration of the company's unique sense of strategy, unique sense of customer needs, and so forth that have led to enormous success. In fact, Jim Collins and Morton Hansen classified them in a recent book as one of an elite group of what they called 10Xers. Right? And this included Amgen, Biomed, Intel, Microsoft, firms that provided shareholder returns at least 10 times greater than their industry for a sustained period. Now, all well and good, this is, of course, on marketing management. What do you think? Which part is marketing? Right? Well, let's talk about how within this model we define this broad set of activities. Now, most people tend to think it's flow, right? Most people tend to think that it's the advertising and communications. That's what the marketing is, and certainly that's a significant part. But we think of it this way. Strategically, there's two sets of decisions. One, where are we going to compete? How do we segment the market, and which segments are we going to target? Two, what is the value proposition that we're going to deliver to those segments? What's the unique value that will resolve their needs that competitors can't match? Then there's a set of tactics in the familiar 4 Ps, right? Product and service development. Place would be channels, and that is how do we actually physically deliver the product to customers. Promotion and integrated marketing communications. Flow is a small part of that, is a piece of that, but that's a very complex program in and of itself. And then we've got to have pricing that reflects the value of what we're doing, and then all of this to be effective competitively, and Progressive provides a good illustration based upon real substantive resources, capabilities, and partnerships. Now, you may look at this and say, well, this is not the way we think of marketing in my course. We do have marketing people, but they tend to focus on the advertising, let's say, and communications and branding and so forth. Here's the point of this broad view. The point is that all of these factors, all of these decisions are being made somewhere in the organization. Okay, they all take place. The question is whether or not they take place in a way that's coordinated, so that the value is actually delivered effectively and communicated effectively to those end customers. So the model revolves around these 3 pillars. We'll look in almost every case study that we do in the class around this framework. So the class, getting to our resources here. We got books. You've seen those, and again listed in the syllabus. We've got Concourse. You've seen that in Professor Miller's class. We've got links in there, materials. You'll take quizzes in there. The final take-home exam will be in there. We've got a website from Harvard, which provides us access to the Harvard materials, so Tiger Tread, Ontella, the simulation, and so forth. We've also got access to a set of tutorials by Paul Ferris, a colleague at the Darden School, called Management by the Numbers, which gives you some basic introductions into financial concepts and reinforcement of those concepts that you're already getting in your other classes from a marketing perspective. On the first day of class, we'll have handouts for you in the form of a course field guide, which is called a field guide because we want you to take it away after the class and use it out in the field, and then also the project guidance provided. When you look at Concourse, it looks like this from our, the main course content looks like this. We've got a bunch of different entries here, all labeled quite well. There's resources, some of which we'll use in class. The syllabus is here. We'll put the field guide and so forth in here. You can take a look at it. There's at least one practice thing in here now under quizzes and exams. These are links to the outside resources. Each of these, once you go to them, you'll have to register, put in your name, and then you'll get access to the materials. For Management by the Numbers, we've got access to 5 different modules. I recommend for sure the margin module and the break-even module to get some reinforcement there. And think of Concourse as the primary, there's central location, sort of city central for the course. We'll put a lot of stuff in there. From St. Patrick's Day, Chapter 1. And then a couple of things from the Harvard website. One is the Tiger Tread case. The other is the preparation materials for the simulation. You don't do the simulation for the 17th. We'll do that in the subsequent session. But this, you'll see you'll have access to the preparation materials there. I'll check the syllabus for specific questions to prepare and think about for that class. And certainly if you have any other questions, please let me know. Just drop me a note at urbany@nd.edu. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody on March 17th. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.